We are at war with Russia. Just period. I mean, come on. I mean, this is what they wanted. This is what they want to do. They want you to hate Putin. They've been telling you all these reasons. You've got no reason to hate him. He's a sweetheart, and his lap smells like cinnamon. And yet...
And welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. Yesterday morning, Joe Biden's Secretary of State, a man called Tony Blinken, went on to the Sunday show over at
A man named Tony Blinken, but he's called Silver Fox. This could turn out to be a pivot point in history.
CBS News to announce a new policy toward Russia.
Oh, no.
Going forward, Blinken explained, the Biden administration will use Poland as a cutout to send fighter jets to the government of Ukraine.
Sorry, is that how they put it? We're going to use Poland as a cutout? They're a fucking NATO country. They have MiGs. The Ukrainians want them, but they want F-16s, so that's the trade-off. Maybe we will.
Those jets will be used to fight the Russian military.
Oh, no.
Blinken announced this in a calm, even tone that suggested this was conventional procedure, business as usual, nothing to worry about. Just another weekend at the State Department.
Yeah, usually when we're at war, you can tell because the people in the State Department sweat and panic and shit themselves and scream. Since when? Why should we... Believe me, if you see anybody from the State Department come out and look calm, collected, that's a point for concern. It's a point of concern. They should be panicking and running around. Like, ah! Now I feel at home.
But in fact, it's not typical. It's a very big step. It could turn out to be a pivot point in history.
According to my Chiron, my lower third.
And for that reason, we want to show you the entire exchange. Here it is.
If, for instance, the Polish government, a NATO member, wants to send fighter jets, does that get a green light from the U.S., or are you afraid that that will escalate tension?
No, that gets a green light. In fact, we're talking with our Polish friends right now about what we might be able to do to backfill their needs if, in fact, they choose to provide these fighter jets to the Ukrainians.
Right.
What could we do? How can we help to make sure that they get something to backfill the planes that they're handing over to the Ukrainians?
Are you afraid that will escalate tension, asks the script reader, because even...
Oh, the script reader.
CBS News anchor knows that sending fighter jets to a war usually does that.
No, it doesn't. Because usually, dumb fuck, when we're talking about sending fighter jets, there's pilots in them. America's sending air support or we're sending fighter jets into a region means they include our pilots. In the case of Poland, NATO pilots, but they fucking well don't. They're just the planes. And we've sent javelins. We're sending anti-aircraft missiles, like batteries of fucking artillery. The fuck is the difference? The Russians don't even control the airspace already. Yeah. Turkey gave them drones. The drones are hitting more of the tanks and transports than anything else. Usually that means it's ratcheting things up because usually there's people inside the airplanes.
No, replies Tony Blinken.
Because that's the proper answer. And you're a fucking moron.
It's a green light. It's a remarkable exchange. What are we watching here?
What?
Apart from a conversation between two incredibly shallow people who have limited contact with reality.
Projection.
What we're watching is the beginning of a war between the United States and Russia.
Oh, dear. Did the beginning of that happen when we started sending them javelins 6 years ago? Or when Trump tried to stop them getting javelins? Or...
If that sounds jarring, what else would you call it?
I would call it material, like munitions and supply. That's what I would call it. I mean, it's going to be Ukrainian pilots. It's not people in them, just gear. I mean, at a certain point, then are bandages an escalation? Shit, they're sending bandages and sutures so they'll be able to stitch up their soldiers and send them back out to fight, and that might get one of our boys killed. This is an escalation. They're sending pie. These people will have full bellies and be able to enter the battlefield, again, reeking of apple.
I support everything that Tony Blinken just said. Maybe you do support it.
Uh-huh.
But let's not lie about what's happening.
Let's not lie about what's happening. This is another example of gear going in, but it's big and it goes in the sky.
Be as honest and clear-eyed as we can be, especially now because it matters.
Oh, I see. So normally being honest and clear-eyed doesn't matter? Welcome to Fox.
The Biden administration just inserted itself with force into the middle of a hot war between two foreign powers.
I don't know why, but that sounds dirty. Just inserted itself into a hot war between two hostile parties. Nasty. Tucker, I've been in this hut under the collar since I heard Matt Gaetz tell that story about you having dinner with him and some chick and some woman pretending to be your wife.
That means the United States is now an active participant in a war.
No, it doesn't. We don't have soldiers in there. We don't have pilots in those planes. We're giving them gear. Nothing has changed. You're a moron.
We are at war with Russia.
Okay. Do you get that? We are at war with Russia. And by we, he means the staff at Fox telling him to knock this shit off.
Whether or not that war has been officially declared, whether or not Congress has authorized that war.
Yeah, where's the AUMF for war with Russia? Get that to my desk, goddammit.
All of that is irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
That war is happening right now as...
What? What? There's a war going on in Ukraine and it's happening right now? You told me it wouldn't.
Watch. Why is no one in Washington saying anything about this?
Yes, I don't know why. I don't know why. I think Anthony Blinken was in Washington when he said what he said about this in the clip you just fucking played. Why is nobody talking about this? You mean, why is everybody talking about this? What the fuck are you talking about? What is this?
Because they support it.
Is that why? Shh, guys. We're getting what we finally wanted. A hot war with a nuclear power. God. I can't. This is what we've wanted all along. Here I thought we were going to be building infrastructure over here. And now it's like, that'll be boring, fixing bridges. Who the fuck needs that? How can we distract from our fantastic jobs numbers? I know.
Have. Almost 5 years ago, way back in 2017, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California came on this show for another Russiagate debate, one of many. He came to let us know how Vladimir Putin had gotten Donald Trump elected president. It was all as stupid as you remember it. Until
I honestly don't remember it. I mean, I like Swalwell. He's a good dude. But even as much as I like him, it's not enough to make me watch your show, Tucker. Not until, it's my job now.
The end of the interview, when Swalwell said something odd and interesting. Swalwell explained that because Putin had installed Donald Trump secretly in the White House, the United States should now, quote, do everything we can to expand NATO's role. In other words, we should let Ukraine join NATO. That's odd.
Yeah, that's weird. Why would he even bring that up? I mean, besides the fact that during the campaign, Paul Manafort, who worked for Yanukovych, who was bleeding the country dry as a sock puppet for Russia and now lives under the protection of Russia and just went on television yesterday, I think last night, depending on time zone, and told Zelensky to lay down his arms and just let Russia roll over the country. That Manafort, who worked for that fucking guy, had, along with Trump, tried to insert into the RNC's platform a rescindance of offensive military aid for Ukraine, and then he just did that, and that had just happened, and so why would he bring that up out of nowhere? And then years later, Trump tries to do it again, even though Congress has already allocated funds and weaponry for Ukraine. He tries to delay it for as long as possible, as if Putin needed a little more time to get...
Why would he say that? Why would a...
Because Paul Manafort and Donald Trump tried to remove offensive aid, lethal aid for Ukraine against Russia from the RNC platform and change the entire approach of the Republican Party. I think that's probably why.
See, so seemingly obscure NATO, Ukraine, what?
What?
Why would that be a priority for some forgettable congressman from the East Bay?
Because he's not forgettable. You were interviewing him, and he was one of the people who is actually kind of in line for an expected run at the presidency. He ran last time. There's a very strong chance he'll run again.
Well, simple. Because getting Ukraine to join NATO was the key to inciting war with Russia. We didn't get it at the time.
Yes,
now it's obvious.
That's what we wanted. Yeah, we needed Ukraine to join NATO to incite war with Russia. You know, we're just poking that bear. We're biting. We're the little dog biting it, like Demes D'Souza said, or Jimmy Dore.
Vladimir Putin just invaded Ukraine because he didn't want Ukraine to join NATO.
Or in 2012 and 2013, huge oil and gas deposits were discovered in and around the Black Sea near Crimea and on Ukrainian territory, and he wanted a bunch of that, and he wants control over that country as a security buffer, but also because they are going to be richer and more prosperous a country than Russia in under 12 years.
Putin certainly had other motives as well. People always do have multiple.
Yeah, I mean, multiple motives. I mean, he likes the color blue. He likes blue and yellow in general, and it just draws his eye. And he had a lot of time to kill, while he was in quarantine. While he was locked in a paranoid bubble in his bunker. Same thing. And so he had, other reasons, like he was getting on Russian YouTube and going, actually, I kind of agree with that Hitler fellow. The Sudetenland was part of Germany.
But that's the main reason Russia invaded.
No, it is not. It is one of the main excuses why, but it's not their reason. Because Poland's on their border, and they're a NATO country. So is Latvia and Lithuania. Who gives a fuck? They didn't start getting squirrely about them joining NATO. They started getting squirrely about them joining the EU as a trade partner, because then it would cost more money to transit Ukraine with oil and gas because they'd have more money and they could afford to protect their land more. And China wants a big chunk of that area for that Belt and Road, and Russia doesn't want to pass with Putin in particular and his oligarch buddies don't want to pass up that kind of cash.
The Russians don't want American missiles on their border. They don't want a hostile.
Too bad. Too late. Asshole, they're already there. And Sweden and Finland are going to join. Attacking Ukraine caused that. Dude, missiles on their border isn't a problem. And again, they fucking signed an agreement in 1997 that said it was okay.
Government next door.
Yeah, like Poland.
Now, that's true, whether you're allowed to say it in public right now or not.
I don't think you are. I luckily, no one watches this show, so. I mean, I've heard that it's very popular, but I don't believe it.
Has been true for a long time. A lot has been written about this over many years.
Right. A lot was written a long time ago, like the conversation that they had in 1990 about Berlin when the USSR still fucking existed.
Serious people. No one who knows anything and is honest will tell you Putin invaded Ukraine simply because he is evil.
No, I wouldn't say evil is part of it. That's not the simple reason. He invaded because he's fucking dumb. I mean, that's the long and short of it. He may have used to have been clever, but his paranoia and his his ego have gotten him out over his skis in a heavy fucking way.
Maybe evil. He certainly seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people talk about it. But what is evil, honestly? Is evil the Salisbury steak itself or the goo that it's laying in? Can you call it Salisbury steak if it's actually horse meat?
Also had strategic motives in doing that. Whether or not you agree with those motives, that's irrelevant. Those are the...
Yeah, it's not that I agree with them. I just think they are antithetical to actually accomplishing the goals he allegedly believes in, because what he has done by doing this is absolutely create a predicate where Ukraine and other countries have no choice but to join NATO at this point once Russia's driven out. Strategically, it was a massive fuck up. And I'm starting to think he has more in common with Donald Trump than we used to think.
So with those facts in mind, the Biden...
No, not facts. Your selective opinion about limited details about an extraordinary complex idea that you are intellectually incapable of processing.
Administration's behavior in the days before the Ukraine invasion tells you a lot about what motivated them. With Russian troops massed by the thousands on the Ukrainian border,
tens of thousands,
Joe Biden sent Kamala Harris, the least capable diplomat in Washington, to explain America's policy to European heads of state. At a public press event at the Munich Security Conference, Kamala Harris encouraged Ukraine to become a member of NATO. Quote, "I appreciate and admire President Zelensky's desire to join NATO." Message? Up yours, Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, that's what it was. Up yours.
Go ahead and invade Ukraine. And of course, Vladimir Putin...
I'm sure that was the whole quote, by the way.
...did that just days later.
Yes, it's weird that he was going to go home, and then Kamala came in and said, "I appreciate they want to join NATO," because why wouldn't you, being in a situation where you can be surrounded on 3 fucking sides by a lunatic's shock troops?
The invasion was no surprise to the Biden administration. They knew that would happen. That was the point of the exercise.
Yes, that's what it was. They sent Kamala in to instigate a hot war with Russia. This has always been the plan.
We watched all this happen. We missed it. How? Honestly,
some men just like to see the world burn. I went over to Joe Biden's house, and there I saw a child playing with a ruby the size of an ice cream cone.
Because it was insane, and therefore very hard to take seriously. Why in the world would the United States intentionally seek war with Russia?
We aren't. Why in the world would Russia, apropos of nothing, surround a fucking country that wasn't even in the process of joining NATO?
How could we possibly benefit from that war?
Yeah. How could we? I mean, honestly, why would we start a war unless there was something in it for us? You know, like all the other wars we've started.
We still don't know the answer to that question. But
yeah, you know that question I just asked? Yeah, where's the answer to that? Well, there isn't one. It's fucking dumb. Oh. Well, is that really a question?
It's obvious that permanent Washington has been fixated.
Permanent Washington. Deep state.
On war with Russia for a very long time. A couple of years ago, you may remember, we'd forgotten, they impeached a sitting president. Why? For threatening to withhold military aid to President Zelensky of Ukraine.
Right.
Failing to back a proxy war in Ukraine was the one thing Donald Trump was not allowed to do.
Well, Congress had already allocated those things. He had systems in place where he could have pushed back on that quote-unquote proxy war, right? He could have stated it openly, lobbied his party to vote against said arms. But they would have gone, fuck you, are you out of your goddamn mind? Putin is trying to claim a country full of innocent people for his own. He's a nutcase. Nah, he's a buddy of mine.
President. Again, they impeached him for it.
Yeah, because he was trying to get help with his campaign, his floundering, ultimately doomed campaign.
And no one said much about it. Even
no one said anything about it, except the entire time we were talking about that and why it was important.
His own party, because of course they supported war with Russia too.
Yeah, that's why. That we support war with Russia. We've been talking about it forever. I mean, ever since '92 when the USSR went away, I went, now we can really get to it. Now this is how we do it. Come on. War with Russia. Let's do this.
Even more than the Democrats did.
Yes, Republicans even more than the Democrats did. Like Lindsey Graham, who we normally would have on here all the time. But now he won't toe the line.
As far back as 2016, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, hysterical little Lindsey.
By the way, 2 years after Russia had annexed read, invaded and occupied Crimea and Donbass and was attempting to carve off more of the country and continued to bomb and shell the people of Ukraine while with their little green men and their Russian militia forces to try and seize more land and salami slice their way across the fucking country. And it's been going on the entire time.
Was jumping around, acting out his war fantasies in front of foreign soldiers in Ukraine. If we saw this tape at the time, we don't remember seeing it.
But we don't? What is this royal we shit, by the way? What do you mean, if we saw this tape at the time, we don't remember seeing it? Does this make sense? Does this way of speaking make sense to anyone? I'm serious. We have never seen something like this. And if we had, we would have remembered, but we don't. We don't remember these types of things. How would we even think about these? I mean, it's unthinkable. At least we think so. Who are
Back
we?
in 2000.
We are the Tucker Collective. We are one. It's the bow tie Borg.
16, Ukraine
Doesn't wear his bow tie anymore, so okay. But you get the point.
seemed like a faraway place. We should have paid more attention. Here it is.
Thanks, Diana.
Your fight is our fight.
Oh, he was translating this whole thing or whatever. They were in the fucking region. They went down there and looked at where the Russians were sending in militia guys to kill Ukrainians, young and old, in that area. Like this is a direct reaction to this. And by the way, what he's saying here, fuck Lindsey Graham. He's a jingoistic dick, and he's trying to appear macho. And McCain's in the back going, I don't know. Let him have his time at the mic. Shit.
2017 will be the year of offense. All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
Yeah, he's literally talking to soldiers after just hearing stories of Russia decimating that area and killing civilians en masse. For fuck's sake.
Enough of a Russian aggression. It is time for them to pay a heavier price.
Enough of Russian aggression. He's talking about specific stuff. Like, again, what are they saying here? What do you want? You want Russ to go to war with Russia?
Is our fight?
It's our fight? What? We don't care if people die. We're rich. We're the Swanson heir. We don't think about these things. We make $32 million a year furrowing our brow on Fox News. There's not actually an argument here. And occasionally we have to laugh. We have to laugh. And then we furrow again. Check, please.
Strange thing for an American lawmaker to say to a...
No, it isn't. As much as I'm against what Lindsey Graham is saying there, as far as how like bullshit macho it sounds, I would like to say for the record that I and everyone else watching this, we lack context on that video. And I would like to see the rest of the video where he's talking to these soldiers and they're going, they killed my mom. These fuckers are dropping bombs on us and no one is helping us. That's what he's responding to. Whether you think he goes too far or not, or whether it's like Lindsey Graham just being a macho dickhead, that's the point. Also, by the way, Lindsey is in, this is 2016. The idea is that what he's saying is that Obama's out, and next year Trump is going to kick some ass. Little did he know.
Military.
By the way, somebody's like, how? Why does Biden fund Putin's war buying oil from Russia? Okay, Derek. Biden doesn't buy oil from Russia. Let me say that again. Biden does not, the U.S. government does not buy oil from Russia. Private companies do, or did until today. The Biden administration met with allies and the UK and arranged so that we as a group would stop buying it all at once instead of piecemeal, so it would form like fissures between allies. It takes coordination, thoughtfulness. This is serious shit. You don't go, fuck it out. You think about it, and you try to make arrangements for a date when you're going to do it. You just don't walk around yanking fucking rugs. That's silly. Biden is smart and actually gives a shit.
Why would the Ukrainian government's fight in 2016 possibly be our fight? On what?
Because Russian missiles would be on NATO's doorstep. If they went out, if they took over Ukraine, Ukraine would not be grounds
is it our fight? What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? Our fight? What? Just because Russia would salami slice their way across Ukraine, have total control of it, take the missiles that the nuclear missiles they used to have there out and put them back in? Why would we care? Thank you, Lisa.
No. And yet now it is demonstrably true. Ukraine's fight is our fight. Ukraine's war is our war. It's here, but most Americans did not see that coming.
Careful how you use that phrase. There's very little that Tucker does not see.
Yet permanent Washington certainly did. Permanent
Washington, a.k.a. the deep state, I just say permanent Washington.
Washington understood that the second Vladimir Putin's forces rolled across the border into Ukraine, we would inevitably be on a course toward war with Russia. They knew.
Well, yeah, so did he. And by the way, we're not inevitably on a course towards war. He's inevitably on a course towards war with Europe and our allies and destroying an independent sovereign country.
President of the August Council on Foreign Relations on the day of the invasion.
We need now a response of necessity to his war of choice. And there's got to be to raise the economic costs at home, to raise the military costs on the ground. I hate to be so blunt, but the most vulnerable thing that Putin's vulnerable to is dead Russian soldiers. So we have to make sure Ukraine has the means to resist.
Dead Russian soldiers. At the time, that seemed a little bellicose right out of the gate.
No, they're invading, fucko. And by the way, we have to make sure that the Ukrainians have the ammunition to resist. Maybe that's the problem he has with it.
Just happened. Maybe there's some way to de-escalate this. The invasion's terrible, but isn't America's role as steward of the West to make things better?
Yes. Better does not include acquiescing to bullshit demands from Vladimir Putin, who predicated his attack on a lie and intends on raping the entire country, you dolt.
Wouldn't a prompt Russian withdrawal from Ukraine be the wisest course for everyone, including...
Yes. But what will cause that, Tucker? What will precipitate said with prompt withdrawal? What could America and our allies do that would make someone like Vladimir Putin reconsider?
And especially the Ukrainians, on whose behalf we claim to speak, but whose country would be leveled by a protracted war? You would think so, but that's not what anyone in Washington wanted. They wanted a war, and now they have one.
They did? That's weird. Oh, yeah, they probably did want a war. They didn't assassinate Vladimir Putin in 1999 when he stepped in. Yeah, we should have seen this coming. I mean, the dude's KGB.
So where's this going? That's the question for the rest of us who had no role in making these decisions. Well,
we all had a role. Yeah, we all had a role. We voted for who's in office right now. You either voted for or against. You played a role. You either won that choice or you didn't. You've had multiple choices in the past. Tucker and his friends voted for Donald Trump for the last 4 years and started this ball rolling. And then once we got out of Afghanistan, basically Putin had to pull the trigger or he'd never get another chance.
Worrisome. You should keep in mind that the U.S. government is currently run by the same people who planned the Afghanistan withdrawal.
The Afghanistan withdrawal? Oh, you mean Trump?
Tanked the U.S. dollar.
Sorry, that tanked the U.S. dollar? Huh? Wait a minute. Back the fuck up. What?
By the same people who planned the Afghanistan withdrawal, the ones who tanked the U.S. dollar.
Excuse me. Oh, goodness. Why is my computer thinking about going to sleep? Uh-oh. Hang on one second. Hey, welcome back. Yeah, it's me trying to fix stuff. Yeah, suddenly everything went, bagoo. It was fun. Magoo. Let's see. Yes, by the way, what I was looking for when that all fell apart was the dollar crashing. Look at that. It's terrible. Look at this terribleness. Dear God. 99.0. It's down 0.21% today after being around where it basically is. Let's see. I'm sure there's advanced, what was it, 1 day? Let's do 5 day. What happened over? Oh. Well, that's not. That didn't tank. Hold on. The 1 month. Maybe it tanked from, nope. How did it not tank from 3 months? It must have tanked. Nope. How about 6 months? Nope. Year to date. Son of a bitch. How am I supposed to do it? It tanked. Tucker, it tanked. Why did it, somebody just, I'm sorry, Tucker. Somebody's been messing with my news feed. What a terrible idea. These people, they tanked the dollar. Okay, sorry. They tanked the dollar. What else did they do? They started a war. They tanked the dollar.
The people who run Baltimore, the ones who tried to send crack pipes to junkies, these are
the people who run Baltimore who are sending crack pipes to junkies. These are the people who what?
With a long history of destroying things and no history at all of building anything.
So you're for Build Back Better, or all right?
A lot could go wrong. They tell us that Vladimir Putin is unbalanced. We'll take that at face value. We know that Putin has thousands of nuclear weapons. Putin has said that if he is
yeah, that's why he's nuts. Russia has thousands of nuclear weapons. They've had them forever.
He will use nuclear weapons. Could be wise to believe him. Harry Kazianis does believe him. Kazianis is a foreign policy analyst in Washington.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people in his business, he regularly participates in government-sponsored war games. These are designed to map out what would happen if various countries fell into conflict with one another.
Right.
A couple of years ago, not long ago at all, Kazianis
yeah, not long ago at all, during the Trump administration,
participated in a war game predicated on a war with Russia.
Right. Now, was Miss Pac-Man involved, or, I'm sorry.
He wrote about this the other day in The Federalist, quote,
in The Federalist? Goodness.
In the course of what we call the NATO-Russia war of 2019, we estimated 1 billion people died. 1 billion. And if we aren't careful, what happened in a simulation could happen if a NATO-Russia war erupts over Ukraine.
Okay, so what you're saying is we should be careful. Okay, I'm good with that. Yeah, that's why I went with the Biden guy instead of the, like, ready, fire, aim asshole who was in there last time.
That war has just erupted.
No, it hasn't. No, it fucking well hasn't. He's saying if the NATO-Russia war erupts over Ukraine, there's a Ukrainian fight going on right now, but the NATO-Russia thing hasn't erupted, nor is it going to. You just gave them airplanes. I don't know why Putin doesn't nuke us right now. No.
The fact that no one in charge seems to worry about where this could go.
Yes, no one in charge is worried about this. Just this rando dickhead from the Federalist who plays war games for a living.
Concern you quite a bit. But nuclear war is not the only risk. The
No.
economic consequences of this war are already profound.
They're history making. They're crazy. I mean, yeah, it's one thing if a bunch of people are being killed, but if it costs me more to fill up, well, not me, I don't fill up my own tank. If it costs, like, poor people.
Changing, actually. And if you don't believe it, check out commodity prices. They're out of control.
Yeah, I was looking at commodity prices just this morning. They're out of control. Fucking commodities, people. Who, by the way, was one of Aristotle's dumbest friends, by the way. He was a hoarder. Sorry.
Wheat is up nearly 60%.
Wheat? Wheat. Fields of wheat.
Last year. That's the highest price
Since last year.
ever recorded for wheat. Not good news if you plan to eat.
Wheat? Not if, yeah. You either wheat or you don't.
Get better. Russia is one of the largest fertilizer producers in the world. So, for example, a ton of urea fertilizer that cost American farmers $200.
Yeah. If you were planning a truck bomb, I mean, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
$65
No, I mean, like, seriously, the Russians will cut off your arm and your leg, just for asking.
per ton last January, now goes for $846 this year. And thanks to sanctions, that number will get much higher. No one who farms has ever seen anything like this.
Yeah, we're going to have to get it from somewhere else.
You probably don't farm, but you do buy groceries. It'll be obvious to you soon.
Yeah, you probably don't farm. Farmers don't watch Tucker.
Thanks to Biden's foreign policy, everything you buy is shooting up in price, and shockingly fast.
Biden's foreign policy, which of course includes Russia's preemptive attack on Ukraine.
Gasoline is now higher than it's ever been in the history of gasoline.
Of gasoline? No, it isn't. Like, not even close.
In Los Angeles, it is selling for $7.29 a gallon. So if you make under $100,000 a year, and most people in this country do,
Except for farmers.
that qualifies as a crisis for you. But for the people in charge, it's not high enough. They'd like to make it worse.
Yes, that's why they want to make it worse. They need to make it worse. They want high gas prices. That's why war with Russia. It's part of the Green New Deal. AOC is pulling the strings. She's the one who wants this war.
Their latest idea that a lot of people seem to be buying is that we have a moral obligation somehow to stop buying Russian oil. It's tainted. Okay. What would happen if we did that? Well, needless to say, oil prices would jump, likely to over $150 a barrel, even higher prices for you. But then if that boycott spread, and moral boycotts tend to, and Europe joined it, buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah. By the way, the fact that they would do it evens out the cost across everyone instead of just spiking for the United States.
To someone in the energy business this morning, energy traders, to get a little perspective on this.
Yeah. You know, I was walking around, hanging around with energy traders. It's what I do.
That a total boycott of Russian energy would cause, quote, an absolute global disaster. That means
That's these guys are professionals. Hey, slow down with all that technical mumbo jumbo and dumb it down for us non-farmers. Absolute disaster, you say? Like, can we get an equation or?
depression, uncontrollable inflation, and the rest.
Really? So this person just threw themselves out of a window as soon as you were done, like it was 1930?
Economic devastation to us and our allies. And at that point, in fact, we're already there, we'd be forced to make up the difference by getting more oil from other countries.
Oh, dear.
Because we need the energy. Batteries aren't going to supply it. So what would those countries be? Well, let's see. They would be, pretty clear, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Venezuela.
Right.
To repeat, in order to wage a moral boycott, we become more dependent on Saudi Arabia, governed by Sharia law, Iran, a rogue state, and Maduro's Venezuela.
Or we rely largely on what's made in the United States, and Europe buys that stuff. And we make arrangements for them to get that stuff, and that's up to them if they don't want to quell their energy usage. And that keeps the price lower.
Because this is a moral statement we're making. This is a moral victory.
Right, which, I mean...
So feel good about it as you go bankrupt. That's the short-term picture. The long-term picture of war with Russia is even...
Can you imagine if he was on the air during, like, the scrap metal drives of World War II? I mean, I'm sure Hitler's not a good guy, but he likes dogs. You like dogs. If maybe you own a cat. Who can say? But, you know, enjoy collecting scrap to fight a guy you're never going to see in person.
Than that. Thanks to Biden's policies, Russia and China now form a bloc against the United States.
Yeah, do they?
This was the night.
What precisely are they blocking?
Scenario, now it's real. Just today, the Chinese foreign minister described Vladimir Putin as China's, quote, most important strategic partner.
Yeah, that's how bad it is for them. Imagine being in a world where your most important strategic partner is a guy with the biggest landmass on Earth, but an economy smaller than Italy.
So are we going to see a boycott of Chinese goods in the United States? They're making this war possible. Oh, don't bet on it. That would be racist.
Oh, that by the way, that's the other story they're telling is that we can't go after China about these things because China and Chinese are synonymous, and therefore we're afraid to deal with them the way we're able to deal with Russia because accusations of anti-Chinese racism and that kind of stuff, which is a weapon the CCP uses, and smart people can get past that. Sorry.
But we should prepare to lose our position as holder of the world's reserve currency.
Yes. Because people are really going to get into the yuan now, or the fucking ruble, or Bitcoin, right, Tucker?
Happening in slow motion. It's unmistakable.
Yes, slow motion, very slow motion. Like on the 500 to 700 years, nobody uses money anymore. Replicators exist now, and we spread all over other planets. Kind of timescape.
Now, the Biden people seem to have no idea this is going on, or maybe
yeah, they almost do. It's like they look at it and go, Tucker's pulling this out of his ass. And I'm not. I don't even have one. I'm smooth in the front, and my butthole was sewn shut years ago.
they want it to happen. Joe Biden was up there at the State of the Union bragging about how he took 30 points off the Russian ruble in a single day. Hooray, good for us. But once we stop celebrating our win, the destruction of the Russian economy, they deserve it. You got to wonder, is there a downside to this?
Yeah. Is there a downside? I mean, what if just for, for shits and giggles, you're talking about like you are an heir to a giant fortune and you'd been talked into going in on a bunch of investments with a bunch of Russian oligarchs, and all that money's gone now.
Could it be a Pyrrhic victory? Let's see. These policies have driven Russia, China, India, Turkey, and other countries to accelerate their flight from the U.S. dollar. Now,
no, they haven't. By no means.
Clear, that's the majority of the global economy.
Yeah, that's right. India's gonna have the global reserve currency now. Not the yuan, not the ruble. Yeah, India. Turkey, the Turkish dinar. That's what's gonna happen.
This may be the most reckless and destructive thing any American president has ever done to the United States.
Yeah, so I guess the whole taking us off the gold standard thing is old news.
If the war in Ukraine ended tomorrow, we would live with the consequences of that loss of the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, that's, again, not even fucking true. Thanks,
No
Andrea.
one in Washington is even acknowledging this is happening.
Because it isn't. Because it is not, fucko. What kind of an asshole would go, you know what, I'm going with the ruble now. I mean, sure, I really like the way the Evergrande collapse is happening and the Chinese economy is really in the shitter. So, and the Communist Party has the ability to wantonly and wholesale change the value of the yuan anytime they fucking want. But I just feel safer.
They're looking for more moral victories to win. And the companies love it.
Do they? Yes, the companies love it because they want to rely on the yuan.
Companies, Apple, MasterCard, lots of other American companies are taking victory laps for their role in punishing Russia. Great. Punish Russia. We're not against that.
Apparently you are, because you think it will cause the collapse of the dollar.
But you've got to wonder.
Yes, I am wondering. I'm wondering what the fuck you're talking about.
A handful of woke corporations crash a country and impoverish its citizens indiscriminately.
Indiscriminately. Indiscriminately. That's what they're doing. They're just for no fucking reason. I don't know why they don't want to spend money or make money in Russia right now. I honestly can't imagine what drove them to this, Tucker. This seems so strange that they don't want to profit or be seen to profit from this kind of activity. I mean, what kind of capitalists are they?
country is Russia, so most of us aren't even thinking about the precedent it sets. We're fine with it. It's Russia, who cares?
Yeah, but who's next? Who's next, huh? Guam? South Korea?
But is it possible these same techniques might be used someday against some place or somebody that you care about?
No.
What if one morning you woke up and they decided...
What if you woke up one morning and France had invaded Germany on 3 sides, unprovoked, and the world stopped buying cheese? How would you feel?
You're Vladimir Putin, and you must be erased. Could that happen? Don't think about it.
Wait a minute. What's this fantasy bullshit again? Run the whole thing?
And they decided that you're Vladimir Putin, and you must be erased. Could that happen? Don't think about it. You're probably not able to think about it clearly right now.
Yeah, I can't think. I don't even know why, Tucker. I'm not able to imagine myself as a brutal psycho dictator invading a country for no fucking reason other than my own ego and desire for landmass. Normally I would be able to picture that, but not today.
If you tried. Why? Because there's a moral panic in progress.
Yes. Yeah, it's only because there's a moral panic about this invasion that's going on, because your morals are all in a bunch. You know what I mean? They're all up in your throat and stuff. Normally, you'd be able to picture yourself as a genocidal madman. I mean, who themselves can't picture themselves as Hitler?
This is the 3rd moral panic we have had in the United States of America in less than 2 years. You don't want to live in a country...
By the way, do you think he thinks of every point of concern as a moral panic?
In which moral panics break out regularly, by the way.
I don't.
Moral panics diminish the people engaged in them and hurt the people who don't.
That's right. Oh. Tucker. Do you feel hurt? Is that what this is about? I mean, because you're saying I've been diminished by this, and you can believe that if you want to. I've had you say or be concerned about things in the past along those lines, but I gotta say, at no point did I think for a second that this might be about how you feel. You hurt, Tucker? Did you get all squinchy? Listen to this shit again, real quick.
You don't want to live in a country in which moral panics break out regularly, by the way. Moral panics diminish the people engaged in them and hurt the people who don't. They're degrading, they're crazy, they're the opposite of what you want. You want to live in a country where wisdom and restraint and rational behavior and decency determine the outcomes, not screaming.
Not screaming. Is that what you think's happening? Like, it took them days to make the decision to ban Russian oil imports into the United States. Like, they slow walked the sanctions for a reason. They're not fucking screaming. By the way, you want to hear screaming? Have Trump on and ask him how Truth Social's going.
But we live in a country of moral panics. The first one began in May of 2020 with the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. That changed America completely.
No, it didn't. Well, maybe you're America. Like, all of a sudden, wait, I have to care about black people when they die? That definitely changed your world. My world didn't change. Most Americans didn't change. Like, oh, shit.
The second moral panic was COVID.
Syntax, but okay. The moral, okay.
You've lived through that.
Have
so
I?
For nearly 2 years, the shouting
So far
has not ended. Hysteria is now the official language of public discourse in the United States.
Yes, that's why you started this off by complaining that Antony Blinken was being too calm when he said what he said.
That's not good for anyone except those benefiting from it.
By the way, yes, it's a good point. January 6th, no moral panic about that. You're not giving us credit for that one? Because I was outraged when I saw that. Morally, ethically, philosophically, psychosexually, spiritually.
Benefiting anyone who lies for a living. The liar.
Oh, Well, I guess congratulations are in order for you.
Perfect cover. Ask yourself, how much of what you first heard about BLM and then about the coronavirus turned out in the end to be true?
How much about the coronavirus and BLM turned out to be true? Well, one of the first things I heard about BLM was that it was short for Black Lives Matter, which is true. And aside from the organization, which sort of took the name and, whatever issues you have with that, the sentiment of Black Lives Matter absolutely still stands true to this very moment. Now, COVID. I knew about it. It's kind of unfair because I knew about it before most people did, and I was warning people about it before most people were being warned by their government, and I knew to be concerned early. What this asshole wants you to think is that because we've gotten a handle on it, that a large portion of people are immune either because they've had it or because they've been vaccinated or both, that somehow the situation becoming better is proof that it was never bad.
How many of the first stories were true? Not many.
Yeah, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people dead? That didn't happen.
It was almost all lies.
Almost all of it was lies. Lies.
But you didn't know that at the time because you were busy being yelled at. If you
yeah, you're right. I was. I mean, you could pretty much say that all the time. I mean, I am on the internet for a living these days.
point out that actually all lives matter, they denounced you as a racist.
Well, yeah, because that's not the point. The presumption of the phrase Black Lives Matter is that Black lives don't matter. And they were calling attention to the fact that while everybody seems to believe that all lives matter, in certain instances, it does not appear as though Black lives matter. And so therefore, an assertion is necessary stating that Black lives do indeed matter. Not because others don't, but because for some reason and for some people, Black lives did not seem to matter. You get me, asshole? Black Lives Matter would fold into the All Lives Matter. The idea was that it was excluded prematurely. It was somehow not in the All Lives Mattering part. And they would like to include that in there by drawing attention to the fact that fuck you.
If you expressed concern about vaccine mandates, of course, they called you an anti-vaxxer.
No. If you had concerns about them, it's one thing. If you said they were unnecessary or put a tracking chip in you, then you would get called an anti-vaxxer.
Sound familiar? The pattern never changes. Hey, maybe war with Russia is not a good idea for the United States. Say that out loud sometime.
Hey, maybe war with Russia isn't a good idea. Sorry, I was expecting like at least some cops to come in through the roof on wires or something like that.
Extreme position, most Americans would agree with you. But you will immediately be denounced as a tool of Putin. What is this?
No. Not for saying war isn't a good idea, nor with Russia. The idea that we should just let them have Ukraine, or that it's already theirs, or that he actually has a point when he's attacking this country for no fucking reason. That would be the tool for Putin stuff. But feel free to conflate all you want.
Name-calling as a means of social control. The people in charge have decided their primary job is to decide who you should hate.
That's right. Yeah.
In an environment like this, everything feels like propaganda, and that's because much of it is.
Well, you do work at Fox News, so.
On Thursday, we told you that Russian forces had bombed a nuclear reactor in Ukraine. That seemed to be true. President Zelensky of Ukraine had said it repeatedly, but it was not true. No reactors were hit. An unnamed Ukrainian official claimed that radiation levels in the area had risen. That turned out to be untrue as well. In the words of Mark Nelson,
by the way, they bombed a storage facility where there were potential for or there was actual radioactive material stored. That's a reasonable concern to have. They didn't hit the reactors. Nobody said they hit the reactors. This is also straw manning or gaslighting or both.
Nuclear energy analyst, quote, "I'm afraid to say this looks like a coordinated effort to induce panic." Of course. It was.
Of course it looks like that. So it must be that. It couldn't possibly be that people in a war zone are concerned. That never happens. Concern for human life, the danger of a nuclear meltdown in a country that has Chernobyl in its borders, within its borders.
Called disinformation, and it was designed to get you to support a war against Russia.
Oh, see, yeah, but I already did. I mean, from, because I was listening to apparently Lindsey Graham from a video that we didn't see.
Now, maybe you support a war against Russia anyway, but you should at least know that you're being lied to and manipulated, which you are.
Well, I'm watching Tucker Carlson. Of course I am. It doesn't have any effect, though. I mean, keep swinging, though. I mean, you're doing a hell of a job. I'm sure somebody out there is going, but yeah.
Watch this segment from Good Morning America the other day.
Ukraine's mothers, daughters, teachers, politicians, beauty queens, now on the front lines defending their country under siege. And there is Anastasia Lena, a former Miss Grand Ukraine. Photos of her on Instagram in fatigues, rifle in hand. Underneath, patriotic hashtags.
Miss Ukraine with a rifle, defending her homeland. Is there anything more inspiring than that?
Yeah, actually. The people who are actually like towing the trucks or fighting on the front lines for real. I mean, it's a posing picture. It's fine, but we have to question everything we're told. Everything. We have to question everything. Is this a Fox News alert? Is Fox even news? Why would a fox have anything to do with the news? Is red, white, and blue the appropriate colors for this? Maybe he is wearing a bow tie. Is he in Washington? Or is that a picture? I think it's a picture, but maybe it's a picture of the real thing. Is a picture the real thing? We have to question everything.
It'd be more inspiring if it was real. It wasn't. It was fake. Miss Ukraine was not defending her homeland. That wasn't a rifle. It was an airsoft gun. So the whole thing was not a news story, though you read it as such. It was a propaganda.
She's posing on Instagram.
It was meant to deceive you. It was meant to make you...
Yes. No one's fighting for Ukraine. The women of Ukraine aren't fighting. That was just all to lead me into thinking they are. All the women in Russia are in Ukraine are Russian stooges. They're oh my God.
Want war with Russia. Sympathize with one side over the other.
Yes. I don't know why I would sympathize with the invaded over the invader. It's weird.
It works.
It does. I mean, I got to rethink the whole thing. I've got to question everything I was doing. Maybe invading is a defensive move after all.
That's why they do it.
Oh.
It's why the tech companies have censored so many news sites recently, including from Russia, but not exclusively from Russia.
Well, no, I mean, while you're at it.
Now, we're supposed to think this is a victory over Putin or something. But a victory for what?
Non-state-run propaganda?
Less information? Fewer perspectives?
Yeah, it's the perspectives I miss. It's RT's perspectives. Hey, why don't we get RT's perspective on this? I wonder what Lee Camp, a guy who's had Vladimir Putin paying his fucking rent for 8 years, thinks about the Americans right now.
If getting to the truth was the point of the exercise, we as American citizens would be able to read whatever we wanted to read. That was the rule for centuries.
Yeah, you still can. Yeah, we have free internet. You can go find it. It's up everywhere. You can. But those companies don't have to carry it. Do you want them broadcasting the state-run North Korean television? Why doesn't DirecTV carry Russian state-run or Iranian state-run television? ISIS, I hear, has a glossy magazine. Why isn't it available on newsstands? What are we being denied? What perspectives are we being denied? I mean, what if you're thinking about beheading a neighbor and you want to know about techniques? That magazine might come in handy.
This country. It no longer is because truth is no longer the point.
Well, lucky you.
Instead, Twitter and Facebook are proudly censoring any information that might, quote, undermine trust in the Ukrainian government. Really?
Really?
Since when are we required to trust the Ukrainian government? Or
you're not. That's an active measure meant to undermine trust in them. It's one thing to not trust them. It's one thing to find information that maybe makes you not trust them. But to undermine trust is an active choice. But you don't make that distinction because you're an asshole.
any government? Don't ask. By the way, over the week,
Yeah, you don't have to. I just told you.
and because everything in America is unintentionally hilarious now, the New York Times attacked Vladimir Putin for censorship. Turns out he engages in censorship, tries to control what his people can read.
Yeah, the government didn't shut down any of these sites. And private industries don't have to carry them. They don't have to carry Vladimir Putin's crafted message anywhere. He's the one shutting off the Russian internet from the rest of the fucking world.
In the relentless focus on war in Ukraine, by the way, is any perspective about the world or war, which is always lacking in D.C., but never
Yeah, we just don't talk about war at all.
more so than now. The fighting in Ukraine is terrible. Of course, you're seeing it happen.
Of course it's terrible. And, in the same way that, when they bring the dessert tray around at a 7-course restaurant where the prefix is, $300, but it's really worth it if you just are in a hurry and they're out of the creme puffs. It's terrible. It's terrible in the same way that you get in a limousine and there's not brandy stocked. Whether you want one or not, the smell is good. And so, of course, it's terrible. The fighting in Ukraine is terrible. And by fighting in Ukraine, what I mean is the Ukrainians fighting back. That's terrible. It's
No decent person could fail to be moved by the images.
Yeah, it's the images that move, not the actual content of what's going on. It's just you couldn't be. How do you not moved by dead people? I mean, living people are disgusting. We don't know how we could be around them.
But it's not unique. It's not the only war in recent memory or even currently in progress right now.
And
many thousands died in the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war that was between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Ever heard of it? It ended less than a year and a half ago. No.
Right. It's not currently going on.
There's been a gruesome war underway in Ethiopia for a couple of years now. It's, again, in progress as we speak. Tens of thousands.
It's a civil war.
Women have been raped by militiamen, many of them intentionally infected with AIDS. Can it get worse than that?
Yeah, probably a nuclear war, I would guess.
How many people have died in the war in Ethiopia? We don't really know because no one
at Fox covers it. Nobody cares.
Media cares enough to keep track. It's just Ethiopia.
It's also a civil war, and there's no specific good guy in that situation. And people are, governments all over the world, NGOs and other groups are trying to help, but it's an internal fight between two countries, or between one country, like two tribes in one country. Whereas, in the case of Ukraine, it is a stable European country that has been attacked by another one. That'd be the thing. It's pretty cut and dry.
We do know that hundreds of thousands of people, mostly civilians, have died in the war in Yemen. It's a war the Biden administration has continued to fund.
They've continued to fund it? So you had a problem with Trump funding it entirely? Continue to fund? How so? Explain yourself.
Doesn't get a lot of attention. It's just Yemen.
It's just Yemen. It's just Houthi rebels firing into Saudi Arabia. It's just soldiers that Trump took out of Syria, instead of sending them home, sent them to guard gas pipelines and refineries in Saudi Arabia.
Who cares? All human life is equal.
Well, that's sweet. There we go. After all this, finally, we get to a moment of humanity from Tucker Carlson.
All of us are equal in the eyes of God.
Which God would that be? Oh, I see. It's important which God. If you don't have one, or if you have the wrong one, gotcha.
Of someone in Ukraine is exactly equivalent to the death of someone in Yemen in its importance. Period.
Yeah. An innocent woman being bombed is the exact same as a man murdered while sexually assaulting a Yazidi in Yemen. It's the same. They're the same. The circumstances don't matter. Death for a death. People are numbers. That's the important thing you needed to know. I'm not part of them. We are not part of them. People are people. They're all cannon fodder as far as I'm concerned. Everyone is just there. There are two groups of people in the world: mulch and pre-mulch.
But hardest of all to ignore, though our media have pulled it off and ignored it, is the civil war that's underway 100 yards from El Paso, Texas right now. The Mexican drug war. That's what we call it. It's likely killed more than 100,000 people. In 2019 alone, close to 10,000 Mexican citizens just disappeared, most of them young men. More journalists are murdered in Mexico every year than in any other country in the world. You're seeing pictures on your screen right now of that.
Right. That is a drug war. That has nothing to do with the governmental institutions or the beliefs of our country or our European allies or anybody else for that matter. That's a trade war amongst people who sell illicit goods.
War. They're horrifying. We're keeping the bad ones off the screen. Trust us. They're awful. But it's not a crisis. It's totally normal, says the Biden administration. Open the southern border. The border we care about is Ukraine's.
I see. The idea is that Mexico's full of murderers. 10,000 people disappear all the time. They're not coming across the border. They're just being mulched. And that the Biden administration wants to open the border and send those murderous Mexicans over here. It's basically the same thing Trump was saying. Also, in terms of the sending their worst, dumping their prisoners, the thing that Trump says all the time, I guess Tucker's all in on that. And if we're concerned about the geopolitics of the rest of the globe, that cuts against us caring about anything else. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, or chew gun even, I guess, I suppose. And what was I going to say? Oh, yes. The wall doesn't work, apparently, because it's just gotten worse. And secondly, if you're going to hear the phrase open border, you're going to hear it on Fox News. You're not going to hear it anywhere else because it ain't.
Now, Republicans in Washington, to their eternal shame, have no problem with any of this. In fact, many of them are more for war with Russia than Joe Biden seems to be.
Seems. I mean, obviously, Biden's a monster, and he's wanted this the whole time.
That is a disgrace. It will hurt them in the midterms.
Owie.
It will hurt them on some deeper level because it does not serve the interests of this country. A war
See, I think this sounds like moral panic, honestly.
fought on behalf of democracy that ignores the will of the country fighting it. At some point, we'll explain exactly what's going on here. We're out of time for tonight, but it's enough to know.
Jesus Christ, did I do his whole fucking show?
Republicans are not representing their voters when they move to a position.
Fuck, man, did he just didn't have a guest on the end of his show and he just yammered? Is that the whole fucking thing?
It's way more warlike than Joe Biden's when they embrace the lunacy that could really hurt this country. That aren't representing people like Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell seems like a Republican voter. He's a 27-year-old mixed martial arts fighter. He's a cattle farmer from Cabot, Arkansas. The other day, someone asked him what he thought about Ukraine at a press event. Here's what he said.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Russia and Ukraine situation.
You know, here's my first thought is I'm not going nowhere to fight none of these wars for these politicians. I'm staying at home, and when the war comes to Arkansas, I will dig my boots in the ground, and I will die for everything I love, and I will not retreat. If this country's invaded and everybody's...
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks for waiting till the enemy is on the doorstep before you do anything. Cool. You know, if only the greatest generation had thought that, like, man, them Germans can do whatever the fuck they want to them gypsies and them Jews, but the minute they step over here, okay, I won't be on the beach, but the minute they get through, they'd have to pass Ohio. If they could get all the way across Illinois and into, what part of Arkansas are we talking about?
Well, we gotta evacuate. We gotta leave. I will not. I will dig my boots.
Great. Thanks, man. Yeah. If they tell you to leave Arkansas because they're going to nuke the joint because apparently the whatever monstrous Sino-Russo force that is attacking has made it all the way to Arkansas, so they've decided to dust them the fuck off. Yeah, I'm sticking around, man. Nuke away.
In the Arkansas soil, and I will fight for the people that I love, for the land that I love, and the way of life that I love. But
apparently, which is just one particular county in Arkansas. Thanks, brother.
I'm not going overseas to fight. I don't know what's going on.
Really? You don't? That you could have fooled me. I don't know. It sounded like I was like, you know what? I'm starting to think maybe this guy should have his own show too. You know, just talking politics and stuff, and then wow, you just, I guess that's you rope-a-doped me.
Be honest, brother, I really don't. There's so
Right.
stuff, and I don't think nobody knows what's going on fully. There's been so
Well, that's you do realize I have to take that with a grain of salt because you don't know anything and you've admitted to not knowing anything. So your opinion of what other people may or may not know ain't shit.
much political corruption in that area. You got Biden and his son making a ton of money off of and using our tax dollars to bribe their people. That's treason.
Is that what happened?
In my opinion.
Yeah. You've already told us you don't know shit about things. Are you talking about the $1 billion loan guarantees that you apparently wanted? I guess the Yanukovych regime to get? Stupid.
So you got Hunter Biden and his son using our tax dollars. Hey, if Ukrainian
for what? How did they use them? How'd they get them? They go to an ATM. Man, hey man, come on man.
And if you don't do this, we're taking your tax dollars. He shouldn't be giving our tax dollars.
Is that what he said? If you don't do this, we're taking your tax dollars. He shouldn't be giving our tax dollars
To that country anyway. We got veterans out here sleeping on the street, and you're going to give our freaking tax dollars to these Ukrainians and all that. Brother, I don't know what's going on over there.
Yes. We gathered.
I'm not going over there and fighting.
This is the only way I could get a shirtless man picture on my show.
That's how he's a Putin stooge, Lindsey.
No, I would consider him a dumbass and a Fox viewer. Yeah, I mean he's repeating blather he's seen on Newsmax.
Graham and David Frum and Ann Applebaum, Liz Cheney. Tell us how he's immoral.
Because he seems to he doesn't give a shit about the United States. He cares only about the fallback point of Arkansas. And apparently, in his description of what it means to fight overseas for our values, or the idea of fighting for our values and that being ridiculous, he seems to be decrying the fact that we had veterans that are sleeping on the street who were dumb enough to fight overseas for our values.
When the war comes to Arkansas, he said, I will dig my boots into the ground and I will die for everything.
Well, yeah, because you can't move much. Your boots are stuck in the ground. What does he think this is, a fucking game of tug of war? And also, again, Arkansas is dead center in the middle of the fucking country. You're gonna let you're the patriot that's going to prove your patriotism by letting the enemy get all the way to fucking Arkansas.
Love. That's the American position. Fight to the death to defend what you love.
Yes, and only what you love, you know? So I would fight to the death for Netflix and feeding my cats in the morning, getting coffee for my girl, and electric cars and Kiss concerts and anything outside that, I just screw it. I've never even liked Cracker Barrel, so I'm not going to dig my boots in. I'm sorry.
Your people, your family, your country.
No. He didn't say anything about the country. He's literally talking about some dirt on his family farm. He could give a fuck about anybody else. Did you hear him? The enemy, whoever they are, can get all the way to Arkansas before he does fucking anything.
That's what we call it, the Defense Department. It is not called the Department of Nation Building or the Bureau of Trans Evangelism.
Yes, although I have put bills forward to create both of those, and they've just, I don't know why I can't get them to the floor.
Bryce?
I would have thought Nancy Pelosi and AOC would have brought them straight out there, but nothing. No. Dinos, that's what they are.
He may not have good grammar, but he understands exactly what's going on here.
No, he doesn't. He just told you he doesn't. Like, he just told you exactly what's going on here. Cut to, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand any of this shit. Exactly.
People who claim to represent him and our country have no idea.
None. No idea. They have no idea what it's like to wait until the enemy is in the middle of the country before you do anything about it. When are they going to learn the valuable lesson of Pearl Harbor that we should have let them get to California?
Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Oh, Jesus. That was that. Fucking hell.